Okay, Shabbat Shalom. Chag Sameach, Moadim Lesimcha, as we say in Hebrew, it's a time for rejoicing. Just let's give us a few minutes to make sure that we're all online now. Okay, yeah. Okay, so tonight is seventh day Pesach, which is the last day of the festival for us in last day of festival for us in the progressive synagogues. So remember, we do not mark 2 days of a festival. We do only 1 day. By doing that, we follow the tradition of the land of Israel. So that's what we are doing in a progressive synagogue. We follow what they do in Israel. And I know that the Orthodox synagogue, they mark 2 days of a festival. They have 2 days for the first day of Pesach and 2 days for the last day of Pesach. They also have, 2 days of Rosh Hashanah, but we mark only 1 day. So I can see if we have already many friends online. Michelle, Shabbat Shalom, Michelle, and Deborah, Shabbat Shalom, Rebekka, and Roops is here. Russell is here as well. Tina, Shabbat Shalom to you. Sibyl, and Jenny is here as well. Shabbat Shalom, Jenny. Norman, Jill, and Joyce, Shabbat Shalom to you too. Sandra and Paul. Okay. And Fleur is here as well, and Anna is here as well. So, because it's Erev Chag and Erev Shabbat, we are doing a different service tonight. We are doing a service that starts on page 413. And we're going to start by lighting the candles of a festival. In the spirit of our ancient tradition, which unites and sanctifies the house of Israel in all lands and ages, we welcome the Shabbat and the festival of the seventh day of Pesach by kindling these lights. Craig, Shabbat Shalom to you, and Natalia as well. Okay. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotzav v'tzivanu leadlik ner shel Shabbat ve'yom tov. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach. Tonight, we give thanks for the coming of spring and the deliverance of our ancestors from slavery. Both speak to us of hope. Winter doesn't last forever, and oppression doesn't endure. As there is a force in nature that makes for renewal, so there is a power in history that makes for redemption. It is a power that comes from God, and it is latent within us, who are created in the divine image. May our celebration of this festival strengthen it. Let us always be among those who struggle for freedom. May we never cease to hope for the Passover of the future, when all that is good shall prevail, and may we never cease to labor for the coming of that day. Page 414. The rains are over and gone. Flowers appear on the earth. The time of singing has come, and the voice of a dove is heard in our land. Ki hine astav ahavar, hageshem chalav halach lo, hanitzavim niru va'aretz et hazamir higia. וקול התור נשמע בארצנו, כי הנה הסתיו עבר, הגשם חלף, הלר לו, הניצבים נראו בארץ, את הזמיר הגיע. So, I'm going to invite you to read responsively with me from page 414 onwards. So, of course, I won't be able to hear you, but I will imagine that you're responding to this passage from Exodus 13, which talks about Pesach and the end of Pesach. Moses said to the people, "Remember this day on which you came out of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. On this day, the eternal God brought you out of there with great might. Today is the month, in the month of Aviv, you are going free. When the Eternal One brings you into the land of the Canaanites, the Hittites, the Amorites, the Hivites, and the Jebusites, which God promised your ancestors to give you, a land flowing with milk and honey. You shall keep this observance in the month. 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. And on the 7th day you shall celebrate a festival in honor of the Eternal One. You shall tell your child on that day, I do this because of what God did for me when I came out of Egypt. Let it be a sign on your hand and a reminder before your eyes, so that God's teaching may be on your lips. For with a mighty hand, God brought you out of the land of Egypt. You shall therefore keep this ordinance at its appointed time from year to year. וידבר משה את מועדי אדוני אל בני ישראל, אל בני ישראל. And now we continue on page 426 with מזמור שיר ליום השבת. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, להגיד בבוקר חסדך, ואמונתך בלילות, עלי עשור ועלי נבל, עלי היגיון בכינור. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון, כי שימחתני אדוני בפועלך, במעשה ידיך ארנן. מה גדלו מעשיך אדוני מאוד, עמקו מחשבותיך. מזמור שיר ליום השבת, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון, ולזמר לשמך עליון. צדיק תמך יפרח, כארז בלבנון יזכה, שתולים בבית אדוני, בחצרות אלוהינו יפריחו. עוד ינובון בשבע, דשנים ורעננים יהיו להגיד, כי ישר אדוני צורי ולא עוולתה בו. On page 427. La 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 ya 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 la 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 la. ברכו את אדוני המבורר המבורר, ברוך אדוני המבורר לעולם לעולם ועד. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom our praise is due. Praise be the one to whom my praise is due, now and forever. La 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 la. La 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Page 427. We praise you, Eternal One, our God, sovereign of the universe, whose word brings on the evening, whose wisdom opens heaven's gates, whose understanding changes times and seasons, and whose will set the stars in their courses in the sky. You make day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. You make day pass and bring on the night. You separate day from night and rule the host of heaven. We praise your God. Your word makes evening fall. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשור בינו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמע בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו ובהם נגע יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. Page 428. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד, ברוך שם כבוד מלכותו לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבביך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושננתם לבניך ודיברת בם, בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשרבך ובקומך, וגשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך, ובשעריך. למען תזכרו, ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמת. All this we hold to be true and sure. You alone, eternal one, are our God, and we are Israeli people. You have freed us from oppressors and delivered us from tyrants. You led us out of Egypt forever to serve you in freedom. When we witness your power, we praise your name and give thanks. Willingly, we accept your rule. Then, full of joy, we sung together, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, Mi kamocha neda b'kodesh, Nora tehilot osei velei, Nora tehilot אוסף אלי, ונאמר כי פדנת את יעקב, וגאלות מיד חזק ממנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, גל ישראל. השכיבנו אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, ועמידנו מלכנו לחיים טובים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך, והגן בעדינו, והסר מעלינו אויב דבר וחרב ורעב ויגון, והרחק ממנו עוון ופשע, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו לעולמים, כי אל שומרנו מצילנו אתה, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה, ושמור צאתנו בואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני, הפורש סוכת שלום, עלינו ועל כל יושבי תבל. Amen. On page 431, אדוני שפתי תפתח, ופי יגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה. האל הגדול הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיים את ימתיו להושיע. משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מזריח שמש ומוריד הטל. מכלכל חיים בחסד, מחיה מתים ברחמים רחמים רבים. סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומי דומה לך מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישוע ונאמרת להחיות מתים ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי המתים קדוש אתה ונורא שמך ואין לנו אלוה מבלעדיך ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש. And we are on page 433. You have given us a special task among the peoples. In your love and favor, you have sanctified us by your commandments, drawn us near to your service, and charged us to make known your great and holy name. In your love, eternal one, our God, you have given us Shabbats of rest, feasts of joys, and seasons of gladness, among this Shabbat day and this festival of unleavened bread, season of our freedom. To unite us in worship and in remembrance of the Exodus from Egypt. Page 434. אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, יעלה ויבוא ויזכר זיכרוננו וזיכרון כל עמך בית ישראל לפניך לטובה ולברכה, לחיים ולשלום. ביום חג המצות הזה, זוכרנו אדוני אלוהינו בו לטובה. אמן. ופותקנו בו לברכה. אמן. והושיענו בו לחיים טובים. Amen. Our God and God of ancestors, be mindful of us and all you people of the house of Israel. Grant us well-being and blessing, life and peace on this festival of unleavened bread, Chag HaMatzot Hazeh. This day, remember us for well-being. Amen. Bless us with your presence. Amen. Grant us continued life. Amen. Grant, eternal God, that our observance of a festival may bring us blessing, happiness, and joy. Sanctify us by your commandments and make us loyal to your teaching. Satisfy us with your goodness, gladden us with your salvation, and purify our hearts to serve you in truth. And grant, eternal God, that the joy of Shabbat and the happiness of the festival may be with us always. Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh Shabbat ve'Israel behazmanin. We praise you, O God. You hallow the Shabbat, Israel, and the festival. Retzei Adonai Eloheinu. Eternal God, be gracious to people Israel, and in your love accept their prayers. Be'amecha Yisrael, u'tefilatam be'ava tekabel. May our worship now and always be accepted in your sight. ותהי לרצון תמיד עבודת ישראל עמך ישראל עמך ברוך אתה אדוני שאותך לבדך בעירה נעבוד. מודים אנחנו לך שאתה הוא אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו לעולם ועד. We give thanks that you, eternal one, are our God as you were the God of ancestors. You are the rock of our life, the power that shields us in every age. We thank and praise you for our lives, which are in your hand, for our souls, which are in your keeping, for the signs of your presence we encounter every day, and for your wondrous gifts at all times, morning, noon, and night. We praise you, O God, source of goodness, to whom our thanks are due. Shalom Rav al Israel Amcha Tasim Le'olam. Supreme source of peace, grant true and lasting peace to your people Israel, for it is good in your sight that your people Israel and all peoples may be blessed at all times with your gift of peace. Baruch atah Adonai. Osea Shalom, we praise you, God, the source of peace. And we take a moment for private prayer and meditation. Osea Shalom bimromav. ויעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל. יעשה שלום, יעשה שלום, שלום עלינו ועל כל בני אדם. And because it's Chag today and it's a festival, so we're going to do a short Hallel on page 474. 474. הללו את אדוני כל גויים, שברכו כל האומים, כי גבר עלינו חסדו, באמת אדוני לעולם, הללויה. הודו לאדוני כי טוב, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמר נא ישראל, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרו נא בית אהרון, כי לעולם חסדו. יאמרו נא ירא אדוני, כי לעולם חסדו. Page 475. In my distress, I cried out to God, who answered me and set me free. God is with me, I'm not afraid. What can mere mortals do to me? With God as my helper, I can face any foe. It is better to take refuge in God than to rely on human beings. It is better to take refuge in God than to rely on those in power. God is my strength and my shield, and has become my salvation. And we are here in the middle of page 475. עוזי וזמרתיה, ויהי לי לישועה. 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 Ozi vezimratya vayi lishua. Ozi vezimratya vayi lishua. Ozi vezimratya vayili lishua. God is my strength and my shield, and has become my salvation. Sometimes it's good to meditate and reflect just on a biblical verse, even if it's out of its context, doesn't matter for this purpose, meditation. So, Chag Sameach, Shabbat Shalom. We also say on Pesach, on Sukkot, when we have these festivals that last 7 days, we say Mohadim leSimcha, which means these are times for rejoicing. And there are many reasons why we can actually be sad, or reasons where we can actually rejoice. And I think if we want to continue rejoicing, I need to plug my computer. Sorry. Bear with me. Okay, good. And as progressive Jews, we're very, very good. So it's not from me; it's from one of my colleagues, my dear colleague, Rabbi Rebekka Berg. So we are very, very good in starting things, but not always very good in finishing them. And she was talking about Shabbat. We are very good at Friday evening, but how many times do we do the Havdalah together? And the festivals were very good in doing the first night, second night of Pesach, but how many times do we actually mark the end of Pesach? And I thought that, this year, because it's such a different time for us, that let's embrace the wholeness of a festival. So it's a festival that lasts 7 days, and it's connected to events that are described in the Torah. And the first night, of course, is this moment when they left in haste Egypt, and for a week they traveled from the Nile Valley to the coast on the eastern side of Egypt. I don't know if you have in mind a map of Egypt, but between between the valley and the coast, you've got quite a big chunk of desert. So they travel there and they reach this place, and of course it was the sea. So it's all about midrash, what really happened. And there is one midrash which is a visual midrash that I'd like to share with you tonight. It comes from the internet, and it's one of these memes that we are flooded by that, but it's so funny. And that's that. Oye broch, the evergreen which got stuck in the middle of the Suez Canal. And oy abroch means what occurs, and it's a Yiddish expression. And I really, first it made me laugh, of course, because you have these, this creativity, of the sea opening and this big ship that is blocking everything. But I also thought, what does it take, to block everything? So when the Suez Canal was blocked for a few days, it literally blocked about a third of the world commerce, all the lines, and the Suez Canal is a small piece of water. So it doesn't take much, to block something to happen. And imagine what would have happened if the Children of Israel had this kind of big ship in the middle of a dry sea. So just a little humoristic midrash, visual midrash on Pesach. But tonight I wanted to talk to you about someone else. Someone else, because I really want us to think about the period we're in at the moment as a process, something that happened on the first night, on the first time we had the lockdown, where we had to change all our habits suddenly in haste. And it was announced by all these little signs that something was going to happen. And we spent a year, traveling back and forth, trying to understand and make sense of our lives. And of course, hopefully, but I know we are not there yet, but hopefully we have reached not the other side of the sea yet, but we're probably near near the end. We are closer to the end than we are to the beginning. So I wanted tonight to discuss someone which the tradition doesn't. No, it's not that yet. The tradition doesn't. Tradition talks about a lot about this man. I'm going to make it a bit bigger. So Nachshon ben Aminadav, the man who jumped into the sea. And I think Nachshon can be seen to, and you'll see where I'm going now, maybe as a model to follow. So first, who was he? Was Nachshon ben Aminadav. So he was a prince. He was a Nasi, which means one of the heads of a tribe of Israel, of a tribe of Judah. So the eldest one. He was a brother-in-law of Aaron, the high priest. So therefore, he's connected to Moses and Miriam and Aaron. He was the fifth generation of Judah, son of Jacob. So it's already fifth generation back, according to Torah. So he appears for the first time in Torah when Aaron marries his sister Elisheva. And if you want to have a look at this verse, Exodus 6, verse 23. And there's a very interesting commentary by Rashi, Rabbi Shlomo Yitzchak, with this French commentator, this genius, even 800 years later, is still very enlightening. So Rashi explains that before marrying his sister Elisheva, Aaron inquired about her brother. And once satisfied with him, Aaron went ahead with the wedding. So that's, when you want to get married into a family, you just don't see. I mean, of course, today it's different, but at that time they would have a look, at the sisters, the siblings, and the parents, and so that's just a little insight into maybe more Rashi's life than Torah's life. So this is how it started. A bit of Torah first. So it's a book of Exodus chapter 14. As Pharaoh drew near Israel. Oh, by the way, if you want to download these text studies, it's on the Facebook page. I uploaded it on the Facebook page, the Careless Facebook page. So if you want to have it, please, by all means, download it and you can have it with you. So then you have, the drama. Right? It's really a drama. We had a drama at the start. These 10 plagues, and then they left in haste, and now another drama is unfolding. Pharaoh drew near. The Israelites caught sight of the Egyptians advancing upon them. Terrified, they cried out to the Eternal. And the Eternal said to Moses, was it for lack of, no, and they said, sorry, I'm not very good proofreading myself, and they said to Moses, what was it for lack of graves in Egypt that you took us to die in the wilderness? But the first time they start to complain about what's happening to them. In a way, it's unfair because poor Moses, you heard them crying out, etc., and God sent Moses to lead the Israelites out of Egypt, but they're not grateful at all. What is this you have done to us to bring us out of Egypt? And Moses said to the people, do not be afraid. Take your station and see the eternal deliverance that God will do for you today. For as you see the Egyptians today, you shall not see them again for all time. The Eternal will battle for you. Hold your peace. Then the Eternal said to Moses, why do you cry out to me? Tell the Israelites to go forward. Lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and split it apart so that the Israelites may come into the midst of the sea on dry land. So here you have a very interesting thing. So, of course, why do you cry out to me? So basically what God says to Moses, help yourself. Tell the Israelites to go forward, lift up your staff and stretch out your hand over the sea and split it apart. So here we have a problem. We have a problem, and you understand why the rabbis were actually puzzled by that. Tell them to move ahead, to move forward, stretch your staff over the sea, and the sea will split. I said, oh, come on, God. I mean, it's of course a miracle can happen, but there's something missing here. So But Moses stretched out his hand over the sea, and the Eternal drove back the sea with a strong east wind all that night and turned the sea into dry ground. So here we have the partnership between Moses and God. Moses stretching out his hand over the sea, and God splitting the sea into two in order to have dry ground. The waters were split, and the Israelites went into the sea on dry ground, the waters forming a wall for them on their right and on their left. So it's very visual. Huh? You can see this very. You can see in your mind. I mean, we've all seen Cecile B. DeMille, the Ten Commandments. You can see that. I mean, it's very colorful. Okay, was it that simple? Of course, God says to Moses, do that, Moses does it, and God does his thing. But, where's the passage in the Talmud? Rabbi Yehuda said to Rabbi Meir that in reality, no tribe was willing to be first to go into the sea. Then, that's funny in a way, because in a way God said, do this and do that, and of course they follow, doesn't take into account how they felt. And here we have these two Talmudic rabbis, which actually no one wanted to be the first. But Nachshon ben Aminadav stepped forward and went into the sea first, praying. And here we have a passage from Psalm 69. Save me, O God, for the waters come into my soul. And it means actually the neck, which the waters come into my neck, which is understood as the soul. I sink in deep mire where there is no standing. Let not the water overwhelm me, neither let the deep swallow me up. So we have this passage from the Psalm, and the rabbi attributed to Nachshon ben Aminadav. Moses was praying, and then God said to Moses, my beloved ones are drowning in the sea, and you pray before me. And again, we have this dynamic between God and Moses. Come on, praying is not enough. And that's a very interesting teaching or lesson from this passage. Praying is not enough. You have to do something. Moses replied, Master of the universe, what is there in my power to do? God said, tell the children of Israel that they go forward, lift up your staff, so that's the passage in Exodus, stretch out your hand over the sea and divide it. And the children of Israel shall go in the midst of the sea on dry ground. Because of Nachshon's action, Judah merited becoming the ruling power in Israel. And remember, Judah is the name of the largest tribe, and it's also the name of the kingdom around Jerusalem. So what the rabbis here try to explain is why the kingdom of Judah became so important in Jewish life, because Nachshon was the first. He stepped forward into the sea because no one else wanted to do it. So that's one explanation. There's another one which is interesting as well. So Rabbi Yehuda Bar Ilai, so that's in the Midrash, when Israel was at the sea, the tribes were arguing with each other. Here you have again, one tribe said, it's completely different. One tribe said, I will go down first into the sea. And the other said, I will go down into the sea. And the other said, I will go down first. And then Nachshon jumped first into the waves of the sea and went down. And on him David said, i.e. the psalmist, deliver me, O God, for the waters have reached my neck. The Holy One ever to be praised said to Moses, my beloved is sinking. So it's about Nachshon in the sea, and you are praying. Tell the Israelites, go forward. This is why the Holy One of blessing increased the name of Nachshon among Israel, that he merited to be the first to bring offerings for the tabernacle. So here we have a different side of the story. And here the side is that actually, unlike what happened in the previous Midrash, where nobody wanted to go into the sea, here they all want to go into the sea. And while they're all arguing with each other, Nachshon, again, who is from the tribe of Judah, jumped into the sea. And there's here an interesting connection as well. He's drowning, and God says, he's drowning, tell them to go forward. So the question is, how does this really help Nachshon? So one of the possible answers here is that by opening the way, and again, remember that the sea is actually split at that point. So by all going into the sea splits and they can walk on dry land. And again, the merit to Nachshon and to Judah, because the first to bring offerings to the temple is the firstborn. So again, his first birthright is not something that was given to him, something that he merited, he earned. There's a last one. Okay, so there's another version, another midrash. They advanced into enter the sea of reed, but they turned backwards, fearing lest the water would come over them. So you see the rabbis actually wonder really how did they react? They put themselves in their shoes, and how would you react in this situation? The tribe of Judah sanctified God's great name and entered the sea first. So it's not about Nachshon anymore. It's about the entire tribe. And all Israel entered the sea after them. And it is said Judah became God's sanctuary, etc., etc. So lastly, there's maybe a more spiritual answer, which comes from Or HaChaim, which is a Torah commentary composed by Rabbi Chaim Ibn Attar, was a Moroccan rabbi who was buried within the Mount of Olives cemetery now in Jerusalem. And this is what he says. The Torah wanted us to know that Nachshon did not think of himself in terms of his title, his position, but considered himself as one of the people. According to Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Yehoshua in another midrash called Tanchuma, Nachshon's name reflects that he was the only one willing to risk his life by marching into the Sea of Reeds before Moses was given instruction to split the sea, before Moses was given instruction to split the sea. So this character, Nachshon ben Aminadav, who, as you can see, appears several times in the Midrash, is actually this image of he was a man of faith, of course, obviously was a man of faith, but he also rolled up his sleeve and did what he had to do without any question. And if you remember the three midrashim or four we've just read, Nachshon doesn't say anything apart from praying the psalm prayers, help me God because I'm drowning. But he doesn't say, listen guys, whilst you're arguing, I'm going to go into the water, or you two are afraid I'm going to go first. That's one of the lessons that you can draw from this Torah portion, is that, yes, praying is important for us because it brings us comfort, solace. It can also be it has also a reflective dimension. Praying is also a way to reflect where you are. And I was thinking today of this Hasidic practice called the Hitbodedut, which means self-isolation in a way, but not for medical purposes, but for spiritual purposes. So Rabbi Nachman of Breslav was one of a major figure of Hasidism, said that every day we should take some time and withdraw from the world and speak openly to God without using the prayer book at all, because you don't need to use it all the time, but just speak as you would speak to a companion, to a friend, to someone who is close to you. Right. Okay, so before we reach now the end of the service, I've got a few announcements to make. And let me retrieve a newsletter that Craig sent today. So tomorrow morning at 11:15, we will be in the sanctuary for a 7th-day Pesach service, and we will be joined by Wessex Liberal Synagogue. So it will be a shared service between both our synagogues. So I will be with with Rebekka and Craig, and I think we have a few visitors tomorrow as well in the sanctuary, but you'll be able to join on Zoom as well if you want. Tomorrow afternoon, there is a song for biennial, that Inematov, which is, I don't remember who wrote the music. I don't remember the name of this lady. So it's about learning a song and taking pictures of careless, taking part to that. So tomorrow at 2 p.m., that will be on Zoom. Tomorrow evening, so with my colleagues, Rabbi Charlie and Rabbi Rebekka, we've decided to, the CEO of Liberal Judaism, the two co-chairs of the Rabbinic Conference, to invite you for a moment of Havdalah to end Pesach. So that will be at 6:30 online as well. And Sunday morning, 11, cook along with Natalia. Oh gosh, all these names. So ceviche, I don't know. So sibas, cured in lime juice, national dish of Peru. Okay. So that's Sunday at 11. We have the usual classes on Tuesday and Thursday. Next Wednesday at 7:30 p.m., Yom HaShoah service, a short service with Northwest Surrey Synagogue, and I'm taking part in this service. And you have to register in advance. So it's the admin at nwss.org.uk. And from next Friday the 9th, we're going to start a new class, which is Torah study lunch. So what the idea is to meet once a week before Shabbat and to have a look at the Parashat HaShavua, the Torah portion. So it's open to careless members. The only requirement is that you need to be able to read a bit of Hebrew, because we will look at an overview of the parasha to know what's happening in the Torah portion, and we also take one text which we will read in more details. And so next Shabbat, 7:30 online, 11:15 we have Ruth Seeger, the Liberal Judaism chair, who is coming to talk to us. And Book Crushers next Saturday, Discuss Jewish by Matt Green and Jews Don't Count by David Badiel. Okay, I think I've covered almost everything you need to know. Ceviche, thank you, Natalia. Ceviche. Okay. Ceviche. No, I didn't learn any Spanish, so I don't know how to pronounce that. Okay, so before we reach the end, I would like to say a prayer for Sarah Olson's father, Michael Rich, sorry, who is in hospital. He had a heart surgery, so he's doing okay, but we want to send him all our positive prayers and love. So if you want to join me with a prayer. So if you have other name of people you know who are struggling with health, please put them on the comment section on Facebook. יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, שתשלח מהרה רפואה שלמה, רפואת הנפש ורפואת הגוש, לחולי הקהילה שלנו, בתור שאר החולים. May it be your will, eternal one, our God and God of ancestors, speedily to grant perfect healing of body and soul to Michael Rich and to all who are sick. We're on page 5, 5:20. עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, אשר שם חלקנו לאחד את שמו, וגורלנו להמליך מלכותו, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים, הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אל מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. As we worship before you, O God, we think of those who once shared with us the joys of burdens of life, and who are no longer in our midst. The sorrow of bereavement is softened by the bond of love, which continues to unite us with our dear ones, and by our cherished memories of them, which we will always carry in our hearts. May all that was good in their lives remain with us as an influence for good. And on this Shabbat, we remember Hetty Schwartz, the mother of Francis Leifer, Louis and Sadie Green, the parents of Myra Halfin, Molly Simon, the mother of Fleur Stondring, and my mother, Marie-Josée Simon. Zichronam livracha. May their memory be a blessing, as we say together. יתגדל ויתקדש שמך רבה. בעלמא יברך חירותי וימליך מלכותי, בחייכון וביומכון, ובחיי דכל בית ישראל, בעגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן. יהא שמך רבה מבורך לעלם לעלמי עלמיה. יתברר וישתבר ויתפאר ויתחומם ויתנשא, ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתעלה שמי לקודשה בריחו. לעילה מן כל ביכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דאמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. יהא שלמה רבה מן שמיה, וחיים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ואמרו אמן. עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום, עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל בני אדם ואמרו אמן. Okay, page 526. יגדל אלוהים חי וישתבח, נמצא ונטל מציאותו, אחד ואין יחיד כייחודו, נעלם וגן סוף לאחדותו, אין לו דמות הגוף ואינו גוף, לא דרוך אליו קדושתו, קדמון לכל דבר אשר נברא, ראשון ואין ראשית לראשיתו, הינו אדון עולם לכל נוצר, יורה גדולתו ומלכותו, שפע נבואתו נתנו אל אנשי סגולתו ותפארתו. לא קם בישראל כמו שעוד, נביא ומביט את אמונתו, תורת אמת נתן לעמו אל, על יד נביאו נאמן ביתו, לא יחליף האל ולא ימיך דתו, תורתו, דתו לעולמים לזולתו, צופה ויודע סתרנו, מביט לסוף דבר בקדמתו, גומל לאיש חסד כמי יפעלו, נוטה לרשע רע כרישתו, ישפור לקץ ימים על כל בשר רוחו, לפדות מחכה קץ ישועתו. חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך הדיית שם תהולתו, חיי עולם נטע בתוכנו, ברוך הדיית שם תהילתו. So we turn to page 573, 573, for a kiddush for festival evening. Let us thank God for the joy of this festival and for the opportunity to celebrate it in the company, even virtual, in the company of those we love. With this symbol of joy, we celebrate the coming of spring and the deliverance of our ancestors from Egyptian bondage. May our celebration make us grateful for the freedom we enjoy and conscious of our duty to seek freedom from all. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri agafein, amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher בחר בנו מכל עם וקרבנו לעבודתו, וקידשנו במצוותיו, ותיתן לנו אדוני אלוהינו באהבה שבתות למנוחה ומועדים לשמחה, חגים וזמנים לששון, את יום השבת הזה ואת יום חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים, כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת לעבודתך, ושבת ומועדי קודשך, באהבה וברצון, בשמחה ובששון, הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש השבת וישראל, והזמנים. Amen. Of course, because it's still Pesach, we have a matzah as for the motzi. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, המוציא לחם מן הארץ. Amen. Thank you for your wishes. Thank you. I hope you have a good night's sleep and you will feel refreshed tomorrow. So tomorrow lunchtime, we still have some matzot. And tomorrow evening, when we leave a festival, you can have carbs again. Shabbat shalom. Be well. God bless you. Bye.